Greetings, Mushroom Bloods and Shrek lookalikes. In today's episode here at War HQ, what we'll be looking at is the new Greenskin kill team, and specifically looking at a 20 Greenskin roster to see what we can do. So before you here is my old Orc kill team from the first edition, and what I've done here is I've had to add a couple of other models which aren't finished yet, just to bolster it up to this edition, as I never would have used certain things in the last edition. But in this edition, they look okay. You'll see here I am limited a little bit in my choice of what I have. Now, the rocket launchers are quite strong in this new edition. They were pretty shit in the last one, so all of my gunner options are big shooters. So if you've got the rocket launcher option, I'd probably suggest using that instead. I think it's really strong. Or at least having one awesome options for them in your list. Another thing you'll notice with my list here is my leader options. It's only going off what I have. So this is going to be used as a kill saw, power claw, big chopper. In the last edition, you couldn't have like combi weapons and stuff with that kind of things, and it costs a lot of points. But in this edition, you can literally just have the best of everything. So what I would do with this list is I might think about modifying these weapons into combi weapons. So basically like a combi scorcher or a combi rocket, which I think maybe the combi rocket is probably the standout in that one again. So alternatively, what you could do here as well is you could drop two of these leaders. If you just say wanted the one leader, like, the claws are pretty damn good, so maybe you'll just go with that. You could switch these two leaders out for two more Gretchen if you want to. But this is what I've got. What I've assembled from the miniatures that I have, which I think will be fairly competitive. And yeah, so what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to go through some of the list build options I've got and each of the individual positions and how I use them. And so if you like that kind of content, stay tuned and like, subscribe, all of those beautiful things. Let's get started. So just going through the individual positions, we've already touched on a few. So we have a specialist fire team here. So this is primarily made of 3 fire teams. Now we have 4 leader options, which is pretty cool. So you've got the spanner, and then you've got the 3 different dudes up here, which I just previously went through before with the 3 different close combat weapons. And then you can also, I'm going to be modifying these to be combi rockets or combi scorchers. So in that instance, you've got 4 different leaders to choose from. But this specialist unit, what I have here is I can either take the leader and 3 of these dudes, or I can take 3 burners and 1 looter. Again, they're the miniatures that I own. So, and that's how I built this team when I bought it. So basically there, you've got a few options, and one of these has to be substituted if you want the spanner as your leader, which is a good one because it has the custom Mega Blaster, which I think is quite powerful. It was powerful in the last edition and powerful in this edition as well. Now, complementing this, we have 2 units of boys. So we have 2 fire teams, of boys. Each of these has a heavy weapon because they can only have 1. So they've got the big shooters in each of them. And then they all have sluggers and choppers. So these guys all have the red hair. There's 5 of those there with this guy. And then the others don't have the red hair. So there's 5 of them with this guy. To complement this, we've got 2 Gretchen at the front here, which any of these teams you can substitute. So I could take out this guy and put in 2 Gretchen if I wanted to, etc. And as I said before, our leader option. So we get one of these leaders with one of these boy fire teams, if that's the way that we're going. Or alternatively, we can use the spear, this guy over here as well, the spanner, if that's the way we're going to go with leader. So lots of leadership option here, and 3 different main primary fire teams, which I think will give us a little bit of punch and be good for what we've got in this first limited edition of Kill Team. So our first Kill Team option here, I'm just going to call it our standard close combat. So this is what you expect if you're fighting orcs, I guess, in close combat, as you're expecting a couple of teams of sluggers and choppers. And I've got 2 fire teams here of those, and they're 5 orcs each. So you've got this one and you've got this one. And then we also have the leader, which you get as well. So like I said before, the leader has different options. You can go the one with the big chopper, you can go the one with the kill saw, you can go the one with the power claw. But I think bang for your buck, like the power claw looks pretty nasty. Hey, it's got the brutal special ability, and that is really cool. So I think I'd probably stick mainly with the power claw. So these guys are going to be able to get in there. You've got lots of bodies. You've got lots of hacking. Obviously, this is going to really go hand in hand with your strategic ploy war, and also get stuck in as well. So those close combat sort of ones that you've got there, and you've also got just a scratch as well. So you can, with that one, you can ignore dice of your enemy, like when they hit you, which is pretty handy as well. Now, something be really cool for these guys, I think, would be you could go two ways with this. I think you're always going to take the boss pole, right? It's 3 EP to get it, and it gives you 1 APL for your knob. And I think that's just an auto include. I can't see anything that would be better than that, really. Now, you might also, with this particular one, I'd really be pushing between stick bombs or heavy armor, or heavy armor. So I would be arming the rest of your troop here, or some of them I should say, with heavy armor if you want them to survive a little bit better, or some stick bombs. Throw a few stick bombs in amongst them just to give them that little indirect sort of fire and blast radius, which I think would really help this team out as well. So it's a fairly standard team. Like, this is what you sort of expect if you're going to fight orcs, and that's why it's my close combat standard team. So the second kill team we've got from this roster, I'm just going to call it my shooty list. So what we have here is the two variants we have here is we have some specialists, and now I've substituted one of the burners for the spanner. So he's our actual leader in this team, and that thing can do a lot of damage, some really nasty sort of damage. And then we have a standard boys unit as well, which has a big shooter as well and some choppers. So this is as shooty as this roster can get. As you see, that I don't have any actual shooter orc models. They're all chopper slugger variants. So I'm just working with what I've got, obviously. But this is pretty shooty. I mean, you've got 2 decent guns, 3 decent guns range-wise. So you've got these 3, and then you've got 2 burners as well, and then you've got your sluggers as well. So it's got a fair bit of shooting. So this one's kind of more designed for like DACA strategic ploy. And also remember that you've got the more DACA strategic ploy as well. So if the target you shoot didn't lose any wounds, or you just stuff your attack up, you can repeat that shooting attack, which is really handy for, say, like the Def Gun, or the spanner with his custom mega blaster. Pretty straight up team again. This one, you're going to be, you can go, good option with this one is you can go the custom force field with the spanner, and then you can get an invulnerability save of 5+ for any of the orcs that are within square of him. So I think that would be a pretty good option in this one. I'd also consider taking either the targeting thing. So I'm assuming that's like a scope. You can take a targeting thing on one of your other guns if you want, like the Def Gun or the custom mega blaster again. Just increases your ballistic skill. So probably on the Def Gun, I'd take this, or the big shooter, one of those two. Def Gun, definitely though. And you've also, another thing I'd consider taking, I'd take the targeting thing on the Def Gun, I'd take the custom force field on the spanner, and then I'd take 2 cutting nozzles on these guys, and then they can fight in close combat pretty good as well. So that's what I've sort of got in mind for this particular kill team within my roster. Okay, team 3, similar to the last one, but different in a couple of little subtle ways, and that's that we're going for, this one I'm more basing around being a close combat assault force. So with the your first option that I showed you there with the boys, that's a close combat standard where it's just your standard boys, you've got more bodies, etc. This one I'm going for more of a backup punch. So as you can see, I've got my 1 fire team of orcs. They have their big shooter and they have their choppers and slugger boys. They have the boss knob, and he's got the power claw, or you can give them any of those other options that I have as well, that are within the list. And this is replacing, from that last list that I showed you, the spanner. And of course I replaced the spanner. I now have 3 of these burner boys, and I still have the 1 looter within the specialist squad. So this is quite tough, hey? Like, not a bad little squad all up. I think that it can be quite effective in a number of different ways. And this one just gives you a little bit more close combat punch. and the weapons that you have, having those 3 burners is pretty nasty. You've got a little bit of range fire support with this guy and this guy, but these 3 burners can do some work in close combat, and can support these guys as they come in and burn the crap out of anything that moves. So I think this one, I'm really seeing this as that assault force. And I think ultimately, this one might work a little bit better than the 2 boy build. I'm not sure. I've got to experiment with them a little bit more and play a few more games with these orcs. But if you've had any experiences with it, please let me know what you find works really well. Obviously, these ones can, you can use the Daka, you can use the War. These guys can use everything. They're sort of a half-halfer, shooting close combat, which is really cool. Now, the sky's kind of the limit with these. I mean, of course, it is an assault squad. I would put a stick bomb or 2 in there if I could. A couple of cutting nozzles on those burner boys wouldn't go astray either. And obviously, the boss pole has to happen for the knob. I think it's just auto include. Having 3 APL is superior to pretty much any other thing you can get in there. So that would be my options for this particular kill team. So there you have just 3 basic kill teams that you could take from this roster for your orcs, for the new version of Kill Team. Just keep in mind there with those teams that I had that at any time you could exchange one of your boys for 2 of these Gretchen. So just keep that in mind if that's the way you want to go. Just if you needed the numbers or the bodies. They're very good at concealment too, Gretchen. They're very hard to see, so they're pretty much concealed behind anything. So if you're looking for guys to grab points and objectives, I think they're the little dudes that are going to do it for you. They're not very good at much else except for hiding. So keep that in mind. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please consider subscribing to the channel. It takes you a second to do, means heaps to us. If you like this series, please let us know down below. And how do you run your orcs? Let me know. Very interested to see that. I haven't had as many games as I'd like with the orcs, but it is a kill team that I can feel the full complement of. And yeah, I think, you've got the bodies there, and you've really got some good weapon combinations. And I think in this episode, they're a little bit better than they were in the last. They were just a little bit too easy to kill in the last one, but with the wounds that you have now, I think these guys have got a bigger bonus and are going to be a much better team all around. So yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for your time. My name's Lucius, you're you, and we are War HQ.